First of all, I just wanted to, thank you guys. Thank everyone who's here today. I know some of you guys, just started this year. Some of you guys have been on the server for a while, even before it was a realm, which is pretty cool. I think it's pretty crazy to think that, the server itself started in 2023, but this seed itself has actually been around since 2020 when I made it with Hank. It was called Hank and Michael's World, but, obviously now it's expanded a lot past that. But anyways, moving on to, my part of the speech. I just wanted to say, honestly, I really appreciate you guys for being here. It's really, really cool being able to see such a consistent amount of people on it, having fun, and being creative. And that's what me and Hank were going for when we started the server. And I think it's working pretty well, to be honest. But the year's theme, the season 3 name or whatever, being called Reforged. I think honestly, it's already been fulfilled. Toleron's been already rebuilt. I would say a good amount of the destruction is already rebuilt, which is great. Which is why if I'm elected as president, I'll be taking a different approach this year and kind of move away from Reforged. And I want to focus on engagement, expansion, and equity. And, those kind of 3 E's are what I've thought of over for the past few days. And, what?
Ethan.
Who's saying Ethan?
He's saying Ethan is one of the 3 E's.
Okay, back it up, Ethan.
Okay. The first E is Ethan. No, I'm just kidding. Well, the first one, equity. I said arguably this is, I would say it's pretty much one of the most important ones. I think it is clear, though, to be honest, that our government does need a rework. It's been clear and it's been requested. And I do ask that, you guys trust me in the process for political transparency and just bringing equity to the server in the first place for this season and, hopefully seasons to come, depending on how long we do this. But, I think equity does really start with ensuring and, just truly ensuring everyone has a voice and a say in the server and the government. Because by doing this, it's not only opening, new opportunities and branches in the government, but it also, will root out corruption and current issues like jealousy, the feeling of being left out. And I think, in my opinion, all of that is what leads to griefing. So with that being said, I think by holding weekly, bi-weekly, or even, more often meetings where everyone's invited to participate, that would be a really great way to create engagement and ensure that everyone's voice is heard. I think the meetings, they would ensure that we can maintain a stable server population for the length of the server so it doesn't die early. But it would also, make sure some really creative ideas that otherwise might not have been heard can, emerge. Secondly, just engagement. That's one of the E's. That kind of ties in with the previous one. But, just to summarize, I think it is a really important part of the server. I think it is very important that everyone has fun because this server is only up for a month or so. I touched a bit on what we can include, such as art fairs, concerts, stand-up comedy, and the debates with Nico. And, he agreed too. I think that would be a really great opportunity. And, I think, taking advantage of Minecraft items and turning them into sports is really unique too. The Fight Club teams were really unique. They kind of died down, but I would love to revive those during my presidency and, also come up with some more unique sports. On top of that, I think these kind of moments, if we can make more sports and, we can further improve the server, I think it would make these server as engaging and unique as possible, which, I would want to be a president, right? I wouldn't want to be a ruler because, you guys' feedback on the server, it really does mean everything. And, seeing all of you guys right now, too, it just means so much more than, it already did. But finally, just another cool topic is expansion. I said, generally speaking, I think Ozarkia is pretty limited in terms of expansion. And, I think, anyways, I was talking about, I think the last thing that's really important, that would be important in my presidency would be expansion, because I'm not sure if you guys remember, but last year, the government kind of broke down because we all decided that government wouldn't be as important, which I do personally think that was a mistake. I think it's been very, very limited in terms of expansion recently, and we haven't fully recovered, but with that being said, I do still think we have a promising future ahead, and we have a lot of great builders in the server, and I think we can expand past the walls. There are a lot of like unique and unexplored regions of the server that we haven't really taken advantage of, and I think that if we get enough support and we get enough builders, we can have systems to get there. I think something like underground metro systems or like ferries could lead people from our like capital ports to further reaches. And I do seriously think that there is a lot of untapped potential when it comes to the land in this server. And I'm sure you guys all want to expand as well. But I think truly, if we as a country are ready for like the next big chapter, which is like, literally and metaphorically venturing outside the walls, I ask for your vote. I ask for your trust to make sure this can happen efficiently and cleanly. I am really happy with how far the server's gone. I'm going to be honest, I did not expect it to take off like this. The fact that, our builds in our community have blown up so much, well, not literally blown up so much, but blown up because of expansion. But I'm not even kidding. I've literally met Teddy and Fletcher on this server, which is kind of ridiculous. And that just makes me want to...
I'm going to straight up say that was the end of Michael's speech. This is going to move on to Nico's speech now.
Gentlemen, fellow Zarkians, this has been a long election cycle. We have gone through highs and we have gone through lows. But right now is a time where we come together and make a decision for this country. 1 week ago, I never thought I would even consider running for president. At that time, Michael, as always, was the presumed candidate and the presumed next president. But then, I made a decision. I made a decision to run. There have not been that many people running against Michael. And if I want to be completely honest, it's been a very uphill journey. Michael had the initial support. He had the control. He was the incumbent. You see, despite claiming to not be the president anymore, he's still the king. He still has the crown. And he still hasn't taken off. If you can see on his skin. But through the will of the people, through people who have been determined to have reform and have change, I've been able to go on the stage with a person who has ruled for 2 years. Under my presidency, my administration will be one for the people and one for reform. Ozarkia is officially a republic. However, there is not much representation of the people going on. In the old days, our parliament, our Senate building was small. It was minute. It couldn't house all the people, and it couldn't house the will of the people. Decisions weren't made by all, they were made by the few. Then, decisions were made by nobody. Anarchy came. No rule, no progress, no order, no change. But right now, we have a distinct opportunity. An opportunity to come together for change and for progress and for reform. During the time of aristocracy, kings, emperors, presidents, generals, executions, I wasn't much. I was simply a lawyer, an advocate for the people who weren't advocated for. At the time, being in dissent was tough. Being in dissent was the opinion that could lead you into jail, lead you into execution chamber, lead you into becoming a rumor like other people like Jaden. But despite all of this, I was able to persevere. I was able to help the people. And then this year, I was given another opportunity. An opportunity to help this nation. Not the presidential run. It was to help the people with the Constitution and help them as a judge. As judge, I've administered the peace. I've administered law and order, but also given people their due process and their rights, even when other people believe they shouldn't have rights. I believed in freedom, equality, and equity, and the ability for all people to attain the Ozarkian dream. If I'm elected president, which is the if, not the when, I will provide a new administration that will provide change and reform. As many of you guys know, the current construction, the current development is concentrated around Wall Giga. It's concentrated around the area of Toleron, not concentrated everywhere else. If you go historic areas like Wall Sigma, they feel barren. They're sparse. Not much development has occurred. And while Michael has talked about how he will change this, he was the president. He was the incumbent. But we never got these changes. And we never got these reforms that he's now promising during election season. My initial promises, the ones that I came up with, were having a robust transportation system. We will have happy guests soon, and we need to have the aerial infrastructure, the transit infrastructure to do this. We need to have a robust metro system. Back when I was in Tolerant, I built a metro for our city, for all of us, so we could move around and we could see our city. While it has been bombed, you can still see some of the remnants today. On the issues of development, I stand forward for development and I stand forward for progress. In the time of deeds, in the time when building and creativity, which Michael says that creativity is one of the things he supports the most, was something that was very limited during the time of his initial regime. At the time, you needed a deed. You needed a deed to do anything. You needed these rules and you need these stipulations. And really, your creativity was hindered. Had I not gone /cleared, I had one of the few you need the deeds, but unfortunately, I got /cleared. So I can't use that to show how far we've come. For how far we've come, I've talked about development. I've talked about progress. I've talked about how we will build new cities. We will build new cities, not just in how the success of Tolerant that look pretty. We'll do cities like Petopia, which is built by Teddy, that looks amazing. We'll do new cities and new developments that can be built by great builders that are standing here in this room. People like Ethan and Teddy that can help us go to great heights and to teach others how to achieve those similar great heights. Now one issue, yes, you too. One issue, however, is, we have this transparency and equity, and we also have the issue of our representation. Michael, in an interview that was published, Michael talked about how if in the case of a rebellion, of a case of a coup by dictatorship, he says he don't know. There was actually dictatorship during my time, and I fought against it. I was a dissident and helped stop that dictatorship. Voting for me is a vote for progress. It's a vote for change. It's a vote for reform. It's a vote for new democracy, and it's a vote for new future. I'm not a ruler. Instead, I'm a leader. The real people in charge will be the people. It'll be all of us. It'll be every single person in this room will be helping dictate this future, will help change this country for the better. If you vote for me, it is really a vote for you. Thank you.